Welcome back to True Blue LA. I'm Ryan Walton here with Eric Steven, continuing our series about the roster for 2016. Next up is second base and the outfield. Eric, are the Dodgers going to go out and get a second baseman on the free agent market, or are they comfortable with what they have in-house with, say, Kike Hernandez or Jose Peraza?
Yeah, I do wonder, it's weird because, Kike hits lefties well, and Jose Peraza bats right-handed. I do wonder if they do sort of a platoon, it'd be a weird platoon. Like Kike would probably play most of the time if they at second. I do wonder if that's something they're willing to commit to just yet. I would imagine second base is something they'll probably try to address either via trade or free agency. I know Daniel Murphy's obviously hitting like a madman in the postseason, but I do wonder sort of what they'll try to target. I don't know if they're going to sign someone like that to a 5-year deal or something, but second base is like maybe not a long-term hole, but it's something that sort of needs attention. And I don't know. I guess I just can't see them going into the season saying we're going to have Kike and Jose Peraza at second, and then we already have Corey Seager at short. And then we're going to have Justin Turner at third, which is fine. But then you're going to need someone to play part-time third as well to give Turner regular rest. And is Kike also going to be used in center field? If Jock doesn't sort of turn it around and has to be platooned. So I do wonder. I would imagine they'll get at least one other person like who can fit into that either multi-positional role in the infield or someone who could play second base to sort of help fill in the gap.
I mean, Sean Figgins is probably still available.
I think so. Or Adam Kennedy. Maybe they could duel for the job. That'd be an amazing, like a literal battle. Yeah.
Let's switch gears to the outfield now. So much has been made about maybe trading Puig, or like they traded Kemp last year. Ethier's been rumored for a couple years. I personally thought there was no way he survived last offseason as a Dodger, and yet he's still here. What do you make of the situation for next year?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sort of the same way last year. You knew they were kind of trying to create room for Jock Peterson, who they were high on defensively, at least take over center field, and so they were in a position where they had to trade one of the outfielders, and Puig was sort of on the not untouchable but pretty much untouchable. And so it was going to be one of the other three, and they ended up trading the one that had the most value, which was Matt Kemp. And then I think they sort of look at a little bit the same this year, although they're not. I can't say they're certainly like overflowing in just ready outfielders because Yasiel Puig went through a very tough injury-plagued season, and he didn't. He was okay when he was healthy. I mean, when he was on the field, but not certainly not his first 2 years. So he has to sort of rebound a little bit going into next year. But I think what you're looking at, Andre Ethier was excellent in 2015. They utilized him almost perfectly. I think 10% of his plate appearances were against lefties, like by far the lowest of his career. They kept him at his strengths, which is killing righties, and he was great at that. And what you saw was basically, you could put it in a pile. Like either at some point in the year, it was either Adrian Gonzalez, Justin Turner, or Andre Ethier was the Dodgers' best hitter, assuming a right-hander was on the mound at least for Ethier. And I think that, and Ethier still has 2 years left on his contract. It would seem to movable last year. It seems more movable now. So I think if they do, it's not that the Dodgers would necessarily be better without him. They might, because they figure they could probably reallocate the resources, in a different way. But if they can get, someone to take on at least, a good portion of that salary, they could probably move him for decent pieces. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Ethier dealt. The other caveat with him, he gets 10 and 5 rights by the 19th day of the season next year. So it's sometime in April. He'll have 10 years of service time. and he'll be able to block any trade at that point. I mean, it's never like a certain, like, you know, it's not necessarily an impediment to a deal. It's just another roadblock. But so I think if they're going to trade Ethier, it's going to be this winter. Otherwise, I think he'll be on the team, you know, going forward, at least through the end of the contract. But I do think they'll try to move Crawford, same deal, 2 years, and, you know, about 41 million or so. Definitely try to try to get as much of that off their books as they can. If that doesn't work, they can move Ethier and maybe get something valuable in return. So that's you know, maybe they're active on the free agent market in outfielders at the same time, and that's part of the sort of the reallocation of these, you know, the big salary commitments they already have. But we'll see. I mean, that's sort of the big outside of Greinke, I would say, you know, adding like an impact type bat to the lineup. And I know it seems weird saying that while also trading Andre Ethier, but I think that's sort of where their mindset is. And I last season was super busy with a huge roster turnover. It wouldn't surprise me again if they're super active again, you know, this winter as well.
So you don't think there's any way they entertain trading Puig?
Puig is definitely, he's not, I don't think, he's definitely not untouchable. But the reason I don't think they trade him this winter is because he would get the most in return. But I just think, unless, you know, like, he's at his lowest value right now, and I don't think they try to move him right now because of that. Like, you try to, you know, he's definitely talented, and they're going to bring in a new manager, and it's sort of up to the new manager to bring the most out of the players they have, and maybe he thrives with the new, you know, whatever, new presence in the clubhouse or whatever it is. So I don't think they trade Puig, but not that he's untouchable, but I just don't think the timing's right. If he, you know, maybe if he was more productive, maybe then they look to move him, but I don't think that's something it's closer to on the table than off the table, but I don't think it's going to happen.